Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody had a great lunch. I found it was quite nice and palatable and tasty, especially the local juice. Okay, so National Honey Show. What is a honey show? Anybody got any ideas what a honey show is without reading the screen? All right, okay. Well, you can. Traditionally, there is a class for beekeepers to show the skills at the honey presentation. Basically, a honey show is just like a festival of everything beekeeping, and a celebration of you being a beekeeper and your activities for the year. That's really what a honey show is really going to be all about. Beekeeper Christmas. I'm sorry? It's also continuing the same program of that same meter. Yeah. Yeah, not only honey, but everything to do with beekeeping. All right, the celebration for you as a beekeeper to hone your discipline, to focus on the public and yourselves. All right, so the categories for the proposed event this December would be only for local competitors. So just us in St. Lucia. Maybe hopefully in the future we may be able to look at having international, regional participants to do it, but for now we're just focusing on ourselves and getting ourselves up to speed. There'll be different classes of competition. Honey in jar in three color durations: light, amber, and dark. Wax candles and 2-pound bees blocks, and honey baking with a cake. So a standard recipe will be issued to bake a cake, and you can bake a cake using this recipe. It has to use those standard features. And art and photography. These are the two areas also that we'll be going into. So someone may have a painting of a nice, beautiful painting of that can attract, some kind of notoriety. We could have. I would like, hopefully, of apiculture, and also encourage art and creativity in our younger people. And I also talk a little bit about the judging criteria. We'll be reviewing entries on the following criteria for the honey in jar section. Starting with that, you would need to submit 2 identical jars of honey. This will be a 1-pound glass queen line jar, as exhibited. These are queen line jars, but we will use the glass type. The judge will be looking for clarity, the visual effects, how clean it looks, the cleanliness, no debris. And the jar must be free of any fingerprints. The viscosity of the honey, the moisture content of the honey needs to be 20% or below. The aroma, the smell, the taste, and also the color. So these are the criteria that they will judge the honey on. All right. There will be an entry fee, which the price. Yes. Enter the light, dark for the dark. Can strain it through a cloth, the jar of honey, that's fine. All right? Any questions? So let's move on from the honey. Honey. So everybody has their own brand of honey, correct? So you could submit your own honey in your normal bottling, and it must comply with labeling standards. That would be the criteria. And all persons must have a valid food handler certificate. All right? Any questions? Regular pack. Sorry? Trying to help you raise the level. All right? Yes? Yes, sir. Yeah, health card. Your standard health card. Doctor does his thing, and you get it back. Or clean. All right? So Dr. Melville, you think it's good? It's not good? It's regular. The regular competition, you don't need that. But if we're talking about commercial acts, 1 one piece of at least 1 pound of wax, or the equivalent of 400, and the absence of debris. They'll also be looking for the absence of bubbles, the aroma, smell, and they'll be looking for the color of the wax. Just 1 pound block. Okay. Any questions? Any questions on the far side of the interesting areas, because I think it's one of the few areas that will be open to non-beekeepers or the better halves of beekeepers. I think so. I'm expecting to see over 1,000 cakes enter into this category, because I know a lot of St. Lucians like to bake. I know at least one good baker is in this room right now. But so I think it's something that participatory area. One of the things with apiculture, it's not just about the bees, it's about the value-added products you can use using the byproducts of the bees. So if you can make a nice honey cake using the ingredients we give. Yes?
The baking is done, the cake is brought prepared.
And the judges will know by... or they could sell the organizers of the competition these tables. One is for the cake board, which the cake will be seated on, and there'll be samples. Well, the judges will get... We're talking... have been taken but not necessarily processed by the exhibitor. So sometimes when people do have to take the picture and develop it, the subject shall be connected. Each photograph must be properly mounted with a border of photograph mounted against a background of an A4 sheet of paper. We are hoping to pull off primary school, secondary school artists with us. Two. Oh gosh, man, it's good. We got two guys there. All right, we got one over at the far end. Mr. Prosper is an avid photographer as well, if I remember correctly. So at least we got 3 entrants there. Art herself, that's against the rules. Well, I mean, we expect you to be honest, and we'll do our research. All right. The subject once again must be connected to bees or beekeeping. Each painting must be properly mounted. No visible name should be on the piece. And once again, we want to open this category to primary schools, secondary schools, and the general adult population. All right, so this is what we're looking to achieve, hopefully. All right, any questions? Any painters? No? Okay, great stuff. All right, let's just talk a little bit about stewarding and being a steward. One of the things that we want in 2 years or 3 years of running this competition, that all the ancillary certified staff should be St. Lucians. So we want to have a cadre of qualified stewards, and we want to have a cadre of qualified judges. All right, I mean, so that we can have our own competition and have certified judges and certified stewards, so that we could be really fully independent. And it doesn't make sense us having a competition, but we need to get... I'm just running through the role of a steward. The normal evolution of becoming a judge is that you start as a steward and then you can work with to do that out of the United States and any show. They're an integral part of organizing the event. They're or your wax. It's the stewards that will receive it, and the judges should never know anything about what the source of a product. Display captures, display tables. Is aware of any double entries. The judges of these anomalies in any class. At the London Honey Show, and have worked at the highest level. The stewards also make sure what judged are returned to the show bench and are displayed in the correct order. And most importantly, the remarks made by judges or other stewards during the judging process must remain confidential to the persons discussing the time. There's not a situation where 2 judges or a steward is discussing a piece of a honey entrant and then that information is leaked out. No, it shouldn't happen. So stewards are 100% confidential persons. All right, so preparations. What have we done so far to prepare for this event? We did a 2-day seminar on the 15th and 16th of February this year, and that was hosted by our honey judge, Jennifer Holmes, and Carla Ensign, Gladstone Solomon, and Dr. Velma Jessamy. We had a great 2 days. I think there was a lot of participants. We had people from all over the Caribbean and having a regional honey competition at some point. The way forward, what we need to establish to pull off this, in the month from point number 4, so the month of August, we will start doing our press releases and our social media activity to the general public. This engagement today is the first in that process. Point 6, by the month, we will also, by the end of this month, we will identify our show chairman, our superintendent, or all the persons involved in running the show for December. Point 6, we expect in the months of September, October to distribute our show rules and our registration so persons can enter. So all the stuff we just covered in this presentation with a little more detail should be available by late August, early September, so everybody can start preparing themselves. Applications by November to have all our exhibits, our signage, our labels, our judging forms, and all the requirements needed to pull off the second week in December, I think. So I think everybody we have, right? I think it falls on a Monday this year, so this is the modality, working hand in hand with whoever is in CYN, and Jeff SGP will definitely lead for them. And they're certified judges. So competition for tasting and stuff. Persons are interested in becoming a judge, if they're really interested in doing it, the judging certification process, which you could do out of the University of Florida.
I want us to look at this as an opportunity to build up our pride, and it's going to be exclusively for St. Lucians. Let us see how we can build our standard, participate. I think it should be an incentive for you to find out how to. Who would like to participate, make a commitment to participate. And I'll make it promote our country. It's an opportunity for niche tourism. It's an opportunity to use National Day as, and he's not spoken about research and innovation, but I'm sure if I make my cake with honey and I make it in a hat form, or I make it looking like the pitons, or I make it looking, isn't that in St. Lucia? And so on. So this is an opportunity. I hope we can promote that. Dr. Melville promoted the knowledge fair we had. Was very successful because all the cruise passengers of this is going to be the final item in the 2020-2021 knowledge fair. So please consider it. A large number of persons. Think of the expanse of exhibit of Pena Street and having that entire information on see what is there and so on, you know. But the desirable publicity required and so on. We really want to push St. Lucia using that.
Each category will have a trophy. So there will be trophies. We're not sure about cash rewards at this time, but I think bragging rights is a very significant thing. And I think cash is always good, man. But I think if I got a nice trophy that I could put in my counter saying, you know, I had a #1 honey in St. Lucia, and y'all can put on your bottle 2021. You know, winners of the honey show, blah, blah, blah. Statistics I saw, there's over 200 beekeepers in St. Lucia. A long room full of jars of honey. We can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. I think, yes.
In terms of funding, we're thinking of speaking to the First National Bank. Bank of St. Lucia contributed significantly. So we will see if they can come on board and perhaps give some monetary standards, Dr. Melville. I think you spoke about standards. And that any final questions? Shall we move to the next presentation? Okay. Good afternoon again, and we want to present in St. Lucia Investing. We thought we should promote this new establishment. But let me give you a frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. its 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life, and used to go to a neighbor down the road, and we used to look through the louvers. And that is how Star Trek was being shown, and that's how I was exposed to the science of the time. That's the late 1960s. I don't know if any of y'all can share that with me. Right, Andre? Yes. Okay. So this was in 1968, Star Trek with Mr. Spock. But the expectation and man's, that recently Einstein's theory of relativity was used, and they found light at the... One of the things, we need to focus $6 million Eastern Caribbean dollars, and we're still going to invest here, have some more money over the next 3 years throughout Jeff 7, maybe another $1 million again, we're not sure, but about that, to invest in projects. But who is Ali? We decided, why not put a structure, a system that is devoted to research and learning? Somebody was talking about how to do certain things, how to test certain things, data versus knowledge. We think that Ali should be a research and learning organization incorporated under the laws of St. Lucia and working in partnership with local, regional, and international partners. So it's going to be a St. Lucian structure located in St. Lucia, but working in partnership with our local, regional, and international partners. Okay? Some design characteristics for Ali. We were saying that it's going to be a field research institute that is the Mankote mangrove, to do work on apiculture there, but also restoration of mangroves. It'll be part of a national network that encourages apitourism and community tourism as well. We want Mankote mangrove to become a visited site on the national itinerary. We will design it to allow for progressive implementation or improvement. We already said it's going to be within the Mankote mangrove. It's a place where a curriculum, a praxis curriculum, where theory and practice will be taught. We'll have partners already. We have letters from the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Sustainability, Sustainable Development, National Trust, IAC, Jeff SGP, UNDP, South Louis Community College. All of them are coming on board for the establishment of Ali. Partnering with ICA, UWI, and other institutions is also one of the design principles for us. We're going to fully solarize it, so it's going to have negligible or zero impact carbon footprint, and there'll be prohibition of on-site catering. The vision so far, developed by a number of organizations, government and NGOs, a strong interdependent nexus created through the integration of research, innovation, and effective stewardship of the environment for sustainable apiculture. Again, showing the environment woven into everything that we do. The environment being, the values have already been identified, sustainability in a document, in draft. And the mission of Ali will be to contribute to a sustainable climate-smart environment for pollinators. Notice we have brought it there through a program that is science-driven, develops and nurtures strategic help us in doing the kind of research investigation, climate-smart investigative work we need to do. We initially thought, apart from the CEO and the site manager, all other staff members shall be temporary and hired based on energy. We have commitments, great interest from the OECS, great interest from the St. Lucia Biodiversity Fund. Jeff SGP is also on board. We're looking for other sources as well. Perhaps the private sector in St. Lucia might get involved. The physical structure itself, we are thinking of 2 laboratories, one for apiculture and coral mangrove restoration. Offices, 1 large and 1 small, plus open spaces. Conference room, 1 large, 2 small, small kitchenette and dining space. Small shop plus storage space. Upper level viewing tower, toilets, fully solarized systems, modern equipment, security system, apiary, interpretation, and signage. So all of that we think, and what's important, the design should look like this, should look like the, what's this called? Wow, this is architects to come up with design. And we believe that, but the external, when you look at it, you see it as if it's an ape. So we're going to push that. We have draft terms of reference already. That's going to go out very soon. Okay. Our needs now, we want, of course, we're going to move up the value chain. research and innovation becoming part of our entourage, and we hope to present to other potential funding sources. This reaches its tipping point at about the 15% occurs. That's a law that was discovered in the 1960s for communication purposes and so on. But it is widely used in diffusion science now. Okay? And then I must end with my Star Trek again. Remember, Star Trek spoke about a 5-year mission. However, towards the end of Star Trek in the 1980s, when I was a postgraduate student, this is what it said now. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission, no longer a 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before, suggesting gender sensitivity in the 1980s and so on. So that is where we want to go. We want to go where no one has gone before in the Eastern Caribbean and St. Lucia with respect to apiculture. We want to build up an industry in which there's a strong attachment to, in which the entire value chain is controlled, developed, managed in St. Lucia in partnership with other persons from around the world where needed. And possible funding sources, of course, I've already identified some of them. We hope to get some more. And then we end with the great Mr. Spock, live long and prosper. That is what it means, live long and prosper. That was Mr. Spock's. Any of you all who remember Star Trek? That's what he said, live long and prosper. Okay, thank you very much. So this is what we want for our country, Helen. We want Ali to become a Helen institution, working in partnership locally, regionally, and internationally. And we hope we can get that done within the next year or so. So, for example, if any of you all want to come and do a course in, I don't know, Queen Rerin, Richard, they can come there. Or if they want to come and do, I don't know, building boxes or Prairie Hive or Landswar, whatever hive, or understand the temperature differential in whatever, develop yourself. You can go to Ali and do a course and so on. And it's going to be there. Visitors can come and see the beautiful architectural design and so on. Very important, it cannot become a financial burden to the government of St. Lucia, so we have to design it in such a way that it becomes self-financing over time. If we can get the initial capital investment, we think it can be done. So I want to rest here and open the floor for comments. Hello? Questions, comments? Do you think it's an idea? Do you think it makes sense? Do you think why do you think it's a good idea? Oh,
thanks, Mr. Ramos.
My brother from the Caribbean.
So definitely applaud the initiative. One important thing that I think that requires some careful consideration as part of the operationalizing of this is the matter of inclusivity for other stakeholders and for this general citizenship of St. Lucia. Right. In more recent times, especially in terms of biodiversity and conservation financing, the conversation has been trending towards creating opportunities for crowdfunding. So the average citizen can invest into the process by which research and learning is commercialized. And so they have a greater sense of ownership and a stake in the venture. So it helps in a number of ways. It helps you get the cash that you need for the commercialization that will keep the lights on. Right. And then also it creates that sense of partnership and ownership that you need from the general populace so that they take that seriously. Nobody can go there and do what they want. I have an investment, they have a stake in this. So they actively support it, they actively promote it, so that it creates additional benefits for the process.
That's a very good idea. Stay Brent, don't go. We're thinking of doing the financial analysis and the cost-benefit analysis as part of the consultancy we're going to pay for. We have the money for the consultancy, so we're going to do the financial analysis, the cost-benefit analysis, and the sensitivity analysis, and look at the internal rate of return on that. And then we'll be in a position to go out and say, look, this is the business plan, these are the rates of returns, and so on and so on. But your point about opening it up to crowdfunding, we didn't think of that, so that's a very good idea. It couldn't be in the form of a cooperative structure because cooperatives are already based on a kind of collective community funding where you only have everybody, irrespective of the investment, you have one vote. So it encourages collaboration and so on. So Richard can have an investment. Brent, you said you wanted to invest, right? You said you wanted to invest. Anybody can invest and so on. Even a child from school can invest. We can open it up in such a way.
That's right.
You buy $10, one share is $10, and so on. And we do it in such a way that it is beneficial. So
precisely.
Thank you for that point. Excellent point. Thank you very much. Yeah. So God willing, we'll try to do this over the next year or so. Lucius?
Oh yes, Jazz. Well, very innovative, thinking out of the circle. And I wanted to ask you, I think you answered the question a while ago perhaps, but the timeline wasn't really cast in stone.
Yeah.
But I really think that this is, I'm thinking of the region, the sub-region more particularly,
Right.
meaning that you could have students from within the sub-region coming there to benefit from what the locals would be benefiting from. But certainly a fantastic idea, and I'm looking forward to see the implementation.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. I must tell you, the former Minister of Agriculture, we did have a meeting with him last year, earlier this year, something like that, and we presented it to him. We'll have to present it to the new government as well and see whether they support it or not. But I do think the chances of supporting is quite high, and we will let you all know as we evolve in its implementation. But the important next step is the business plan and the financial analysis and so on, because that is going to be the selling point. We could go to people and say, look, if you put $10,000, you're going to get $30,000 in 2 years, that kind of thing. So thank you very much for listening. And when we come back to you with that, we hope we get full support from Vieux-Fort to Asgale, from Prale to Soufrière. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. We now have exports in Lucia, I think, will be coming to present. Who is that? Bureau of Standards, please. Who is that? Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Romulus. Thank you to everyone. I don't think I need the mask up here. Okay, good afternoon to everybody. I think I am the last person to talk to you this afternoon, and that is quite a challenge because usually people are ready to go home, and I hope I can captivate you and you can hear, listen, and understand what I have to say, which is really about the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards, what we have been doing for the sector in terms of development of standards, and what are some of the things that we can offer in terms of taking your product maybe from just the local sector and the local distribution and trade and looking at when you're ready for export. So a little about St. Lucia Bureau of Standards, and I will be very, very quick with this bit. The St. Lucia Bureau of Standards is actually a QMS certified agency. And we really exist to develop standards. We really exist to promote industrial efficiency, protect the consumers and the environment through standards. Because there are many other agencies, government agencies in St. Lucia that serve that protection of consumers and environment role, but our role is specific where we have national standards that exist. And when these standards are deemed to be very important, in terms of having a serious risk of safety or death, that kind of thing, then you have these standards becoming mandatory. And we have quite a few, mostly food products and some electrical products being mandatory standards. Tires is something where we recognize there was a lot of accidents and injuries and deaths resulting from poor tires on vehicles, and we do have a tire program, and that is a mandatory standard. Bottled water, electrical lighting, and electrical appliances, small appliances, labeling. These are all types of mandatory standards that we do monitoring and enforcement for. We have some core functions that help us to fulfill our mandate. And that, of course, is standards development where I am from. And now that I'm saying standards development, did I say my name? Maybe not. But I'm Zamala, it's Joseph, and I work in the standards development department. And we also have certification, and I'm going to speak a little on certification because when we start thinking, and I like to encourage, not just for export, but even for domestic trade and consumption, we need to start getting into the habit of understanding certification sets you apart. It says, I'm following whatever standard that you're certified to, and it's my commitment. I'm not doing it only when an inspector comes along. I'm doing it every time, even when nobody's looking. And more often than not, you find the export market, because of the development of different countries, they have a greater appreciation and understanding for certification. And that is, as soon as you say, I'm certified to national, regional, or international standard, your foot really gets through the door. And for us, we're still trying to develop this quality culture, this type of infrastructure in St. Lucia, where certification or the demand for certified products is not something that is a St. Lucia Bureau of Standards talking about it, Ministry of Agriculture, but every consumer understands, identifies, demands, and then we have the producers, manufacturers, farmers getting into the habit of getting their products certified and getting on the market. So I don't think it's just for export. I think I am a consumer, and I would like to know the same way I can trust a product coming in from X, Y, and Z, I can trust my local product. And that's what a lot of trade is on, trust. We trust that when they sell you the honey, it is actually honey. It doesn't contain water. It doesn't contain additional sugar. It's trust. And certification gives you that assurance or that trust done by a third party in the case of the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards. We do have quite a few international and regional affiliations. So we at SLBS are well connected, if you want to put it that way, through the international and regional standards agencies that exist. And we have the opportunity for where we don't have national standards to identify a regional or international standard that can exist and allow them to become national standards. Now, the one time somebody said to me, you mean for all this time in the world, we still don't have standards existing for X, Y, and Z? How can that be? I wish I knew, but standards really, sometimes it's inherent, it's not documented, and we as a global economy, of course, through the advent of things like the World Trade Organization, we are now trying to document what we do. We're trying now to get standards in place. So you would come in and find that there's no regional, international, or national standard for a subject of interest, and that is when we would have to develop from scratch. Sometimes you have books, sometimes you have research, but there's no type of national agreement or consensus, and that's what we work towards getting. So that is the SLBS, and I'm going to speak some more directly to what we have for the apiculture industry. We actually have 2 national standards that exist, and you have seen my face. You might not remember, the hair was different, but definitely of when you put this thing in the bottle, what it should be based on science and not just on, well, I know I extracted it and I think it's honey, but to give a scientific base to that. And we worked from a regional standard, but we found that we had some difficulties in taking the regional standard as an identical standard, and we had to do a modification. So the standard we have is really a St. Lucian standard based on a CARICOM, Caribbean Community, well, I think we all know CARICOM, regional standard. So it is applicable to honey produced by honeybees and which is offered for direct human consumption. So this standard does not apply to honey that may be intended for industrial processing, further steps. Maybe if you're making, if you have a quality of honey, maybe for a honey cake or honey biscuit or that kind of thing, and it's all industrial. This standard is really about the final product that the consumer gets and consumes as honey and not a byproduct or process item. It also is not applicable to non-retail or bulk containers of honey that is intended for repacking. But the repackaged honey would need to meet the standard. Yeah? And that is mostly because of the labeling and packaging requirements that's in there. In summary, we've tried to capture, and this is just a snapshot, try to capture a few key characteristics of honey and come up with what we can measure, because we need to be able to measure. Now, I know that it continues to be a big issue for us here in St. Lucia, not just for honey, but the issues of labs and the issues of testing and having that type of scientific evidence, because that is what we rely on. And when I speak about certification relies on having the science. I know too that there's a lot of work being done to identify regional labs, to build also competence nationally. I note we do have our National Diagnostic Facility, and these are some of the things that hopefully they will be trying to offer those types of tests so it can be made available locally. The standard for honey gives other requirements, organoleptic, the smell, taste, requirements that it shall have no food additives. That is really stated in the standard. The levels of contaminants that are allowed for heavy metals, pesticide residues, etc. So it does give quite a bit of information and specific information on the package, what is in that bottle. We are currently working on a code of practice for apiculture. And this we would have started as part of a project with Millfleur, doing for them a type of industry type standard where if they wanted something for their members, they wanted to be able to communicate to their members what are the minimum requirements for beekeeping. And we've now in a place where we're ready to transcend that. So it's not just it will become not just a Millfleur document, but available for all as a national document. And very soon you might be seeing me again, because we will be going into a public inquiry phase where we're getting other persons besides just the technical committee to give their opinion, give their feedback on whether they're satisfied with the requirements of that beekeeping standard. And this standard does have quite a bit of information in there in terms of really what are some of the considerations needed if you decide to go into beekeeping in terms of the apiary management. I think that is the biggest part of that standard. And it looks at things like the site selection, placement of the hives, hive densities, and we have sort of described what the allotment area and the maximum number of hives that would be allowed in that standard. This standard gives you more information on things like making sure that there's enough water, sufficient water, dealing with swarming, dealing with capturing and swarms in itself, how you deal with docile bees and robber bees. So it is not an instruction, so it's not telling you how to become a beekeeper. It's more about the process and what are some of the things you need to record, be mindful of, and manage as a beekeeper. The code of practice, and it's the key thing is records management. Just like testing is an issue with the specification standard, records management is an issue with the code of practice. Really getting, and again, this is not unique to apiculture, but really getting persons to keep records. And without an auditor being on your site every day, there's no other way to communicate and indicate how well you are following the standard if you don't keep records. And when you start thinking of the farm to fork, which is a lot of these potential export markets, and again, to domestic even, I would like to know that whatever product from the time of harvest, production, up to the time it gets in that bottle and to my home before consumption would have had safety, food safety considerations all along the food chain. So when we start thinking of the farm to fork, there's no other way we can guarantee the consumer's safety if we don't keep a record. It also helps if there's an issue you can trace. Somebody comes up and say, boy, I have eaten everything before, but today I ate that honey, and that is what I think is giving me that allergic reaction. That is what I think is making me sick. It's for your own protection that you keep proper records. It assists with traceability. It assists with identifying issues or when there are issues that need to be addressed. So in reality, this might be what a record would look like, because we expect you to be using and keeping a record and tracking on a daily basis. So you need to have maps and documentations describing the areas of beekeeping. Right now, the Ministry of Agriculture is considered the competent authority for registration of beekeepers. So all these documents need to be housed or lodged with them, and you keep your own log or register, your daily log, what's happening, or weekly. It doesn't have to be daily. You can decide what is best for you. This photo is maybe what it would look like if you're not keeping any records at all. Nice, clean. This is before you start keeping the records, but it is expected that you keep accurate and up-to-date records of the hive location or mapping, maintenance log, pest management log. Remember, in the honey, the product standard, it speaks to pest residues. And if you're not testing every day, if you can demonstrate your own pest management or treatment, it definitely gives credence to, well, okay, there might be a reduced levels of pesticide residues in the final product. And there are other standards that are available, and I'm just going to direct or even just mention them. And these are a lot of the international standards that deal with food safety prerequisite programs. There's for food manufacturing, so that would be applicable to post-harvest in the processing bottling plant. There is the farming at the point of harvest or production, and of course there's the general food safety management systems that applies across the board. And the last thing I want to speak to you about before you all fall asleep, I know we have some important deadlines this afternoon, is the types of certification that SLBS can offer. We do product and process certification, and that might be of interest to you. While we do national certification, we also assist with getting or acquiring international certification. We have a HACCP recognition program which looks at hazard analysis critical control points. It's sort of like the basic or the minimum requirement of many potential export countries. But certification process is pretty much the same across the globe. You do an application, you do pre-assessment, document review. So that's why you need to keep the records, because if there's no documents to review, there's no certification for you to get. And generally, you need to have at least 3 months minimum of records for any type of program that you would like to be certified to. We do testing if applicable, and we then have the actual inspection. Somebody would come in. Once you have satisfied the requirements of the based on the standard, and the auditors or assessors review, then you will get your certification, and you do have post-certification checks. So it's not a one-time kind of, here you go. You do have regular checks happening from time to time to ensure that you are still following the set requirements. And that is it for me. I hope I got your attention and informed you. Yes, I was told I had to be short. And informed you of what the possibilities are. And in everything, standards is about the customer, the consumer. So it's not, you're not putting in standards in place for you alone. It's all about that customer satisfaction. And depending on who your customer or your consumer is, the levels of standards that you want to apply will change. We know that you are professionals. You've been doing it for 50 years. You know, your father taught you, you inherited the know-how of beekeeping and honey production. But without the proper records management, there is just no way of giving that assurance. And that's what I want you to take away, that we have to move towards the records management, the science to support what you are doing. It's not going to be that what you're doing is wrong. It's really to validate and verify that you are on the right track and you can replicate and say, not just to the people of St. Lucia, but across the globe, that I am producing up to standard. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Any questions? None? Question? Oh, because I'm last. I know what it is like. Go ahead. Oh, the microphone. Yes.
Mr. Ramirez, she's been working with us at the processing facility for our Rising
Yes.
Brothers.
Yes.
Hope soon to be in operational. But we want to go ahead with all the rules and regulations which she just mentioned in proper order.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, we've been having quite a few projects because really this is like the golden, literally the golden product when we think of agriculture and the next steps for us in St. Lucia. And Brent, we've been having this journey for a while. So it's actually good that we have standards in place rather than having nothing at all. Okay? Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's a struggle. That's why I say we need to. It's a developmental struggle to get everyone to understand this quality culture, and I do take your comment wholeheartedly that we try to do more public awareness on what's happening with the standards. Yes, yes. Just make sure. Okay, that's it. All right, thank you very much.
I'm curious about that name, Zamela. Where does it come from? Africa? East Africa? Oh, no. Not even a tidbit, eh? Okay. Well, colleagues, we're coming to an end. I'm going to have to make an executive decision, but I hope there's no coup among you, to overthrow me. We are going to have to leave out 11.0, the group work that we were trying to do. And we're going to ask you now to do the workshop evaluation. There's a form in your file. Can you please do it and pass it on to where's Doxy? Where's Doxy? Yeah, pass it on to Doxy, right here. Please complete it. And pass it on to Doxy, the evaluation form. Before I move the closing remarks. It's not a very long evaluation form. It's very straightforward. But please answer all the questions. Okay? Please answer all the questions. thank everybody who had the time to spend the entire day with us today. I want to thank everybody for coming, for participating. I think today we made a significant stride. I think we shared a lot of information with you. I think you're living here with a better idea of the potential of the apiculture industry and where we can go from now. It's a pity we didn't spend enough time on the issues of your challenges and so on. But I am proposing, I don't know, Dr. Melville, I don't know how we're going to address this, the issue of the challenges. We didn't know the challenges and the group work and so on. So maybe we have to postpone to another time.
Some of this was mentioned though during the session.
Yeah, and a few points were made during the session. So we can glean from those points that were made. So all is not lost. We will keep you informed about the progress towards the honey show. There'll be training opportunities as well, led by Richard's group and so on. Please let us develop a greater, a stronger community of exchange in St. Lucia and collaboration. And let us, this report is going to be prepared by Mr. Doxery. Doxery should have that done within about a week or so. Everybody will get a copy if you registered with your email, and we will send that to you as a record. As we end, anybody has any comment, burning comment, or point they would like to make? Brent. Venez, monsieur.
Thanks, Mr. Romulus. Just to add that as a follow-up to this, I really think that we should have a dedicated session where we take the concepts that you presented in terms of systems thinking and do an industry map, so that way we can actively identify and develop the areas for interventions, build the synergies we're looking for.
Okay, Brent has just recommended a follow-up, so the report, please, Lucia, make sure it contains that, and we can have perhaps a smaller group, a smaller working. It's tiring for everybody. Please, those of you going to Soufre and Choiseul and Grace, be safe, please. Be safe, be safe, be safe. And take care. And Mark, it was really great to see you after such a long time. Thanks to Dr. Melville and the group for the assistance, to CYEN, to MC Sounds, to Richmond, the Richmond, and to MC Sounds and everybody. Brent, thanks for coming and spending the day with us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go forth now and let us do great things to St. Lucia. Amen?